when we heard that, Vice President Vance was coming, that there was that little last glimmer of hope. We don't even have that now. We don't have it. I'm going to lose my husband. And they don't care. It was a photo op.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up. Joining me now, Chrissy Ferguson, a resident of East Palestine, Ohio. Unfortunately, your home is right over a contaminated creek that is still contaminated, despite the bullshit that the vice president spewed today. Lori O'Connell, you live just over the border in Darlington, Pennsylvania, with your husband.
Yes.
Sadly, he got double breast cancer very soon after this derailment and chemical detonation. J.D. Vance went down there after this. He did some photo ops by the creeks. He claimed, he was going to try to help the residents. He talked about health issues at the beginning. Well, today was quite the different tune from Vice President Vance. And by the way, they didn't have residents standing behind him. They had politicians. Very few of the actual residents with health problems were allowed in there.
When I was United States Senator for the great state of Ohio was the train derailment in East Palestine. And there are a few reasons why I wanted to come back, of course, on the second anniversary of the disaster. I think the first is just a signal to the people here in East Palestine that we will not forget you. I talked to the president about this visit a couple of days ago. The president loves this community. Of course, he visited himself personally. And President Trump just wanted to deliver a message that this community will not be forgotten, will not be left behind, and we are in it for the long haul in East Palestine. What does that mean? Well, one thing it means is that, of course, the environmental cleanup has to get done. It's a tragedy and a shame that it wasn't done during the last administration, but I guarantee we're going to finish the cleanup during this administration under the great leadership of Lee Zeldin, our new EP administrator who stands behind me. And I also think that part of that means the long-term economic development of this community. We know that a lot of local businesses and a lot of local people lost a lot when that train disaster happened a couple of years ago. We are committed not just to finishing the environmental side of the cleanup, but hopefully seeing East Palestine build back better and stronger and more prosperous than it was before this disaster happened in the first place. That's not going to happen overnight, of course. I'm a realist about this, but I just want the people to know here that President Trump, me, and the entire administration are committed to ensuring that the people of East Palestine, that their community, their government does right by them, and we'll keep on working at it in the months and the years.
Within a minute, I heard about economic development. We won't forget you, yet there's, as far as I can tell, no residents there. And I didn't hear anything. And we'll play more clips about the fact that 2 years later, I mean, I have a partial list here. I'll just run through some of it and then get your thoughts. I didn't hear a damn thing about people having bloody noses still. I didn't hear anything about the headaches. I didn't hear anything about chemical burns inside people's mouths, on their lips, people still suffering with migraines, fatigue, women having irregular menstrual cycles, young girls having premature menstrual cycles, an alarming increase in people developing dementia under the age of 60, increases in cancer. We will get to that. Lori, your husband. Seizures, strokes, kidney issues. I mean, I could go down the list. There was barely a mention that there is widespread health issues in East Palestine and Western Pennsylvania. I'll start with you, Chrissy, because you can't even go in your house still. It's over that contaminated creek.
No, and on December 30th, there was a knock at the door. Norfolk Southern has ended our relocation. They're okay with us going back to our home. We have till February 28th before we could possibly be homeless, because I am not taking my family back to that home and watch my family die. because of the contamination in that home.
And,
Vice
you know,
President Vance he spoke about meeting me at the gas station that I worked at in my home, sitting on top of Sulphur Run. We were silenced once again, just like when President Biden came to our mayor. I hoped and I prayed that you would speak for everyone. I understand that if you're not sick and not having health symptoms, you don't want to leave your town. I didn't want to leave my town. I didn't pick this. I didn't do this. This was Norfolk's gift that keeps giving to everyone. I pray you do not ever be able to understand what the sick are going through. I pray that you live a long, healthy life, but you are the mayor for everyone, and you did not speak for everyone. That's very disappointing. Now, also, Vice President Vance, you remembered me. You spoke to me. Why did you not get in touch with me? Why did you not let residents in to whoever, whether it was Governor DeWine, whether it was his call, the mayor's call, the vice president's call, once again, doesn't matter red or blue, they all see green. Nobody spoke about Norfolk's dirty little secrets. And those of us that are having health issues, those of us that their homes are not safe to ever live in again, we've become their dirty little secrets, and you're not making it better. You're keeping us a secret and keeping us silent. And shame on you. Shame on all of you. You will answer one day. I'm praying for you because I am so disappointed and so fed up with the cover-up that keeps going and going and going.
I have that clip we'll play in a minute, but I want to ask Lori. You live just a few miles over the border. Your husband was diagnosed with double breast cancer, I believe, like 18 weeks after this.
Yes.
A couple of weeks before this, he got a clean scan. So something happened between his clean scan and double breast cancer.
Yes.
I met and interviewed Wayne. Had a fighting spirit, but this has a way of wearing you down and making you very disillusioned and losing hope. And unfortunately, from what you tell me, he was in remediation, but now that cancer has spread.
Yes. It last year when they did blood work, his antigen kept coming back, doubling every 3 months. In December, when we saw the oncologist, it was at 100. She immediately ordered a PET scan, and she said, go home and pray that it's inflammation. Unfortunately, his PET scan has showed that it's metastasized to bone. And we think lymph nodes. We're waiting on a call for another biopsy to see what we're dealing with. And it's the nightmare that doesn't end. And I wish that they would have taken the time to talk to the residents. My own community, my own government locally put out a letter today about the second anniversary and how they're still fighting for us, and they're still fighting for clean water, and they're still fighting for, us to be safe, but all the preliminary tests have come back that everything is fine. Okay. I had the EPA out here to test my water and my soil. And yes, they indeed told me it was fine. But I don't know how it was fine because we were still getting sick. Wayne has all but given up. He has all but given up. He thought that when this administration took over, when we heard that, Vice President Vance was coming, that there was that little last glimmer of hope. We don't even have that now. We don't have it. I'm going to lose my husband. And they don't care. It was a photo op. They came in for a complete photo op. They talk about the businesses. I can't go to East Palestine. What I have right now is the result of being there 3 weeks ago. And I was there too long and I immediately got sick. I got sick that day and it just got worse the next day. And I haven't been able to get rid of it yet. Nobody else in my house is sick now. I'm the only one who's sick. I was there this morning briefly and I came home and had a migraine, or not a migraine, but I had a terrible headache. This all started again. And now I'm right back to where I was 3 weeks ago.
And yet they tell you, and Vance said it today, we'll show you, the air is fine, the water's fine, the soil, even though I've exposed that they hid from you that they detected vinyl chloride. They didn't notify the public.
No.
Yet it's all in people's heads. And they'd say, well, we can't draw, direct cause and effect. Well, why do people have bloody noses? Why is a 60-something-year-old man getting double breast cancer, which is extremely rare in men?
Wayne has had shortness of breath since the end of 2023. I took him last week for a pulmonology test. Took him to see a pulmonologist on Friday. They cannot figure out where this is coming from. He's been to a cardiologist. He's been to a pulmonologist. We've been to a psychiatrist. We've been to other doctors, and nobody can, in all of their testing, all of their examining him, can explain that. I can explain it because when you go to so many visits and the answer is always the same, there's only one thing that changed in our lives. We've lived in our home for 26 years. Only one thing changed. And that was that fateful night 2 years ago. And then when they made the decision to blow up those tankers. And that altered our lives forever.
Our lives are derailed. Everything else is back to normal, but the ones suffering the most.
Yes.
And I just want to explain for the audience, this is what I've learned, and I'm certainly no chemist, but why it's very clear that either the EPA and the state officials are either incompetent in their testing or just straight up lying. And I think they're just straight up lying because this is not my first rodeo. Yeah. They lied to the people of Flint, and they've lied in many other instances. The EPA, when they blew up those cars of toxic chemicals, it's not like that plume just stops at an invisible wall in the air. It travels.
I froze.
As toxicologists I've spoken to, the plume went to as many as 8 states and Canada. So Lori, where you live, right over the border in Pennsylvania, that plume went right over your house too. And the EPA, they're only testing for individual chemicals. Yes. They're not testing for what they call synergistic toxicity. Synergistic toxicity is humans being exposed to a chemical petri dish all at once. Not just vinyl chloride, but when vinyl chloride is released into the air, it turns into formaldehyde, hydrochloric acid, carbon dioxide. Then you have the dioxins, which we've talked about, which Times Beach, Missouri, back in the 80s was evacuated. It's a ghost town now because it had a dioxin disaster. The EPA wouldn't even test for dioxins in the beginning. They were forced and shamed to test for dioxins. And what do you know? Independent testers, not on the payroll, found very high levels. So when the EPA says we're not detecting vinyl chloride or we're detecting low levels under human health, well, 2 + 2 = 4. People, this is not one mass psychosis of psychosomatic symptoms. Your mind doesn't cause a bloody nose. Your mind doesn't cause cancer. Your mind doesn't cause, I mean, we'll show the clip later. We're talking 7, 8-year-old girls are having menstrual cycles.
Yes.
Boys, you know, as young as 7, 8, 9, 10, full chests of hair. So I want to get across that when JD Vance stands up there and, well, let's play some more clips to get their response, because he just pretended that everything's fine. The air is fine. The water's fine. And he didn't even mention residents' health problems. Let's play another one.
I came here a couple years ago. I talked to people on the ground. It was kind of crazy. The first person I met was at a gas station. We had to stop and get gas. And I asked her what was going on. And I expected her just to be, you know, it's a small town, but it's not that small of a town. I expected her to be a person who was just generally aware of what was going on. And she actually was living in a house that was over one of the creeks where she was smelling the fumes coming into her house. And I realized that, you know, the most important part sometimes of being a leader is just listening to the people who are on the ground and experiencing this. And that's what I've tried to do. As the governor said, that's what I try to do, talking to local businesses, because it is different now, right? In that initial phase, what we were most worried about is the water clean to drink? Is the air safe to breathe? That's what we were really worried about 2 years ago. Now what we're worried about is finishing the cleanup and getting this community back on the path of economic prosperity.
So that gas station woman that he was talking about is Chrissy Ferguson here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with the economic development, didn't mention that home. I mean, I was there last year, even standing on the porch with you. My eyes were burning. The chemicals are so bad. We went inside the home. I think we lasted like a minute before I said, I can't, it smells too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking about you. He's talking about you, but he's not talking with you. He's not talking with the residents. And again, I've heard economic development twice now, but nothing about the health.
I would like to have seen him go into my home today. I think if you're really wanting to help, then walk into that home and open up a tote. Go down into the basement and check the drain that the creek water seeps up through. Go in my deceased father's room so you can have the eyes burning, because each room in that house gives a different symptom. And to overlook everything that I have fought for and that my fellow warriors, as I call them, have fought for all along, why would you not, if you're going to bring me up, why would you not follow up with me? Why are you focusing on just everything's clean and pristine in Palestine? You know, come stay at Lori's house. Come stay at mine. Come stay at Ashley's. Let's go visit where Jamie used to live. I mean, hey, we could even go over to Chris's. You could bring your children there and watch them start puberty very quickly. You're a father. You're a husband. Bring your kids.
Yeah.
Bring your family. Bring your loved
Let them
ones.
play in the creek.
And and let them skip rocks over the rainbow sheen on Sulphur Run. Have picnic lunches. I'm fed up with being silenced and ignored by our local, by our county, by our state, and now once again by our federal government.